Breaking news, the Washington Post is for some reason telling you the truth about what's happening in Ukraine. Here's a headline. Ukrainian volunteer fighters in the east feel abandoned. And here is a video of these Ukrainian fighters. And it's being, I'll read it to you. It's being, you can keep it down low because it's being translated. Watch. We are the platoon of the 115th Brigade. 3rd Battalion is based in that town that just got taken over. We are addressing you, Mr. President Zelensky, and you, Mr. Zelensky. Who's that?
He's one of the top brass in the military.
Okay. So, and the whole Ukrainian nation, we refuse to perform a combat mission due to the fact that we have no proper protection from behind. Namely, heavy equipment that would cover us and proper commanders. We have been waiting for reinforcements for 2 weeks now. We are being sent to certain death. We are being sent to certain death. We have no battle commanders. We have no equipment. There is no respect for the soldiers.
Can't we send him some money?
Hang on. Nothing whatsoever. We don't refuse to protect our country, but we want to have a proper rear and proper military leadership. We are not alone like this. We are many. We refuse to serve in the 115th Brigade. Glory to Ukraine. Wow. So that's a big deal. And so that guy speaking, I'm pretty sure, is this guy, Lapko. And this is from the article. It says he's built like a wrestler. He was made a company commander in the 5th Separate Rifle Battalion in charge of 120 men. The similarity, Burley Cruz became a platoon commander under Lapko. All of their comrades were from Western Ukraine. They were handed AK-47 rifles and given training that lasted less than a half an hour. Do you want to go fight the heavily trained, heavily armed, heavily commanded Russian army when you have a half-hour training? Not only that, when they trained them, they gave them some bullets, teach them how to shoot. They shot 30 bullets, and then they said you can't get more because they're too expensive. That was it. That's their whole training. They were allowed to shoot 30 bullets. So you tell me who you think is the disorganized army. Is it the Russians or is it the Ukraine? They were given orders to head to the western city of Liev. I'm going to say Liev, and even though they'll probably say Lviv. When they got there, they were ordered to go south and then east into Luhansk province in Donbass, portions of which were already under the control of Moscow-backed separatists and are now occupied by Russian forces. A couple dozen of his men refused to fight, Lapko said, and they were imprisoned. Behind their positions, Ukrainian forces have tanks, artillery, and mortars to back Lapko's men and other units along the front. But when the tanks and mortars are fired, the Russians respond with grad rockets, often in areas where Lapko's men are taking cover. In some cases, his troops have found themselves with no artillery support. This in part because Lapko has not been provided a radio. So when they do fire those tanks, the Russians respond and kill those Ukrainians and just smear them, slaughter them. And he has not been provided a radio, he said, so there's no contact with his superiors in whatever town that is, preventing him from calling for help. So there's way more to this story, and it is interesting if you want to go read it over at the Jeff Bezos Washington Post. I always read it for free. But what is crazy about, or what's interesting, is that they showed that video of the Ukrainian soldiers saying we were being sent into certain death. And this whole story is about how unorganized and screwed up the Ukrainian military is and how badly they're being beaten. Now, the only reason, Jackson, I can think of why Jeff Bezos and the CIA would allow this to be printed in the Washington Post CIA is because they think this will make people feel better about the $40 billion we sent them if they hear how beaten down these fighters really want to fight, but they don't have any resources. And so now we're sending them the $40 billion and now they can fight. That's the only reason I can think of why they would print this in the Washington Post, right?
Yeah, and there's a strong contingent that want more weapons to be sent to Ukraine as well. And the other thing is, this guy Lapko, he was actually not the guy that was in that video. There's been so many. There's been so many platoons that have refused to fight now. I mean, I've seen 5 of these videos where the guy, that was the smallest group of soldiers I've seen. There's videos of like 60, 70 guys that are saying that we're going to refuse to fight. So it's just incredible to see this.
If only they had radios so we could tell them 40 billion is on the way, you know?
Well, you know what? I hope some of that 40 billion is going towards radios. So there you have a video of them saying we're being sent to our certain death. It seems like that. I mean, the whole story is filled with they're given 1 potato a day to live on. Mm-hmm. They don't even have water. And then when those guys walked away and they went to a hotel to clean up and whatever, because they were living in basements with rats, as the article says, they got arrested. The Ukraine military came and arrested them for not fighting, even though they're not given anything they're supposed to get. Anyway, so the big story is that's printed in the Washington Post CIA. And why would they would only allow you to print stuff that helps the war narrative, meaning more war. But this seems to be, but actually I figured it out. This is getting you to feel better about the 40 billion we sent and about all the money we're going to send coming up. Right? So that's why they're putting stories about these guys who don't have any supplies and they're fighting with their bare hands against these Russians. Won't you help them? That's what this is about. Here we're doing stand-up comedy in Irvine, California, Las Vegas, San Diego, Salt Lake City, Indianapolis, Louisville, all over the place. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for tickets.